This is Rolf Lamport Larson. Rolf was born to Wallace Hunt Larson and Augusta Lodina Treat on June 2, 1916, in Snowflake, Arizona. Rolf's first home was the Old Brown House in Lakeside, Arizona. Rolf and his older brother, Corwin Treat Larson, slept on a screened front porch year-round. When relatives came to visit, the brothers gave up their bed on the front porch. While wrapped up in blankets, the boys ran barefoot across the snow to a big log house that their father was building and slept on the floor there. Rolf was valedictorian in his very small high school class. He entered normal school in Flagstaff, which is now known as NAU. In order to earn money for schooling, he took his cow Cordera with him. Rolf milked her each morning and night and delivered the milk to his customers around Flagstaff. He was offered a job running the school dairy and did so until he graduated with honors at the age of 19. After graduating from school, he was called on a mission to Argentina. Since there wasn't a missionary training center in those days, Rolf went to Salt Lake for 2 weeks of training. Rolf loved sports, especially basketball. With the help of the other missionaries, they managed to pulverize old bricks until they had enough to cover the surface of their basketball court. Their team was known as Los Mormones. Rolf was offered membership in clubs, but he refused. Later, with permission, he played for the Argentine national basketball team. When he was not playing, he was distributing facts about the church to players and onlookers. For years thereafter, he was known throughout South America as Larson. After some time, Rolf went to Washington, D.C., where he applied to several government agencies for employment. He was called back for interviews from the FBI and was given a job. Rolf's first office was in Jackson, Mississippi, and he was later transferred to be an undercover agent in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. In 1941, he was assigned to work in La Paz, Bolivia, as a legal attaché to the American legation.
The very first night that I arrived in Bolivia, we went back to the pension, that's sort of a boarding house, where I was to live. And as I was walking in, there were some people coming out. And there was a young man that they introduced me to, and that was Rolf Larson. And we shook hands, and he went on out, and that was it. But when he shook my hand, and it was a very vigorous shake, and he held on to my hand for just a minute, I thought something overwhelming had just happened to me, and I didn't know what it was. That was the beginning of our friendship.
He was then temporarily stationed in Washington, D.C., where he married Jean Pauline Joyce on February 3, 1945.
Quem acreditou no amor, no sorriso, na flor. Yo ya me voy al puerto donde se halla.
Between 1946 and 1954, Rolf and Jean had 6 children, 5 girls and a boy.
La barca de oro que debe conducirme, yo ya me voy. Solo vengo a despedirme
After raising their children, and after serving for 25 years in the FBI, Rolf retired and returned to Arizona. Later, just days after a serious automobile accident, Rolf was called to be the president of the Chile-Santiago mission. Jean also noticed that Rolf had not been feeling well, so she took him in to see the neurosurgeon at the Barrow Neurological Institute. Rolf was diagnosed with a brain tumor. 2 weeks later, Rolf Lamport Larson died on July 6, 1969. Rolf was buried near his parents and brother Corwin in the Lakeside Cemetery in Lakeside, Arizona.
I think that everybody should know that he was the kindest, most thoughtful person I have ever known. He was always thinking of somebody else and never himself. And he was extremely generous, and with people who didn't have anything, he was always giving of what he had.
Though Rolf's life was cut short in the 53 years that he spent on this earth, he dedicated himself to service for his family, for his church, and for his country. Rolf Larson lived a full life and left a rich heritage for his family.